Welcome to our 5 on 5. I'm pleased to be joined today by Roseburg High School grad, National Guard soldier, and French hero, and now Republican candidate for Oregon's 4th U.S. House District, Alek Skarlatos. Alek, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So whether or not people know much about your politics, you've gained, as I referenced, quite a bit of notoriety, for thwarting the train attack in France, along with 2 other National Guard soldiers back in 2015. But what is the most important thing you would say that people should know about you?
Well, I think you had it right the first time. The variety of my experiences. I mean, I've done a little bit of everything. Owned a small business, helped stop a terrorist attack on a train to Paris, wrote a book, did a movie, now running for Congress. I mean, this is something I'm very passionate about. I've been doing this for about the last 3 years now. There's a lot of issues facing Oregon's 4th congressional district, but really just the overall economic health or lack thereof of this district is probably going to be my #1 priority. We're the poorest congressional district in the state.
That dovetails right into what I was going to ask next. I understand both you and your opponent are supporting a proposal to build a container port in Coos Bay, providing thousands of permanent jobs. What other ways will you help create job opportunities in the 4th District?
Well, I think the Coos Bay terminal is going to be absolutely fantastic. I mean, largest deep water port between Seattle and San Francisco. I think going back to managing our forest properly to prevent these massive forest fires would absolutely be a large priority for me as well. Coming from the timber town of Roseburg, where I live, a 10,000 acre fire used to be about once in a decade occurrence here in Western Oregon. And now we see 100,000 acre fire almost every year, sometimes more. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like I mentioned, the overall economic health of the district and access to healthcare services as well.
The 4th District has a variety of communities, from the college towns of Eugene and Corvallis to your home of Douglas County down to our southern Oregon coast. Aside from job creation, what would you best do to serve these diverse communities?
I would look to serve on the Natural Resources Committee, just because it's what affects this district. Again, the coastline, like you mentioned, actually goes all the way up to Lincoln City as well. So the fishing industry is now a much larger priority for this district. Again, forest management, really just a more diverse economy as a whole, getting back to doing job training and things like that. I mean, there's this runaway inflation as well. I mean, hurts this district more than other districts. The $5.50 gas hurts this district more than other districts just because we are the poorest in the state.
You haven't held any public office. You lost a Douglas County Commissioner race in 2018 and this same congressional seat race to DeFazio in 2020. What have you done at a political or professional level to prepare you for a job like U.S. Congressman?
Well, like I said, just a variety of experiences. I mean, serving in the Oregon Army National Guard, I did the deployment to Afghanistan, I have a small business. I even worked for a nonprofit between campaigns. So I like to think I have a little bit of variety, but honestly, at the end of the day, I think people in this district in particular are not looking for another career politician to represent them. I mean, this district has had one-party rule for 48 years. DeFazio himself was there for 36 years. This state has had one-party rule for about 45 years. Our federal government has been one party for the last 2 years. I think it's going to be very hard for the Democrats to pass the buck on to anyone but themselves for this inflation, gas prices, interest rates, and the list goes on.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll have much more with Alek Skarlatos in just a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back to our 5 on 5. Again, I'm here with Republican congressional candidate for Oregon's 4th U.S. House District, Alek Skarlatos, joining me via Zoom from his home in Douglas County. Alek, in 2020, you listed endorsements from Texas Republican Senator Ted Cruz and Oregon Right to Life, which lobbies for severe abortion restrictions. What abortion restrictions would you support at the federal level if elected?
Well, I wouldn't support any at the federal level. I mean, I think now it's pretty clear that that issue lies with the states. So no, I wouldn't support any restrictions or really anything either way on the federal level. It's a state issue now pretty clearly.
Who do you think won the 2020 presidential election?
Well, looking at gas prices and looking at inflation, I think it's pretty clear that Joe Biden won, unfortunately, and we're all paying the price for that.
And the Biden administration this fall announced plans to develop floating platforms off the Oregon coast that could create wind-generated electricity to power millions of homes. How do you feel? If you're elected, this could certainly matter in your district. How do you feel about this plan?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's a great idea in concept, but I've went to all the listening sessions that Boehm put on for that wind farm, and almost everybody on the South Coast, Republican and Democrat, are against it as it stands currently. Again, I think this is just a classic example of why this district needs more balance and why the state of Oregon needs more balance. They want to put this wind farm in some of the most productive fishing area in the entire West Coast. And again, I'm in favor of it as a whole, but not as it stands right now. We should compromise and just move it a little bit farther offshore out of the productive fishing area. And I think it'll be a fantastic plan. But again, even Democrat environmentalists living on the South Coast are opposed to it. So if both parties can agree on something, it should absolutely get altered.
Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.